This is it, the moment I'd been waiting for. Keys in hand, I stood in front of the door to my brand new top-floor apartment. After months of searching, dealing with shady landlords, and almost giving up, I had finally found it, my dream place. It had everything: huge windows with a city view, a modern kitchen, and a little balcony, perfect for morning coffee. I turned the key, the lock clicked, and the door swung open. The smell of fresh paint and new beginnings filled the air. I stepped inside, my heart racing with excitement, ready to start this new chapter of my life. I dropped my first box on the floor with a satisfying thud and yelled, "Hello, new home." And then a voice from the bedroom answered back, "Hello?" My blood ran cold. I froze. Was I hearing things? Maybe it was a neighbor. I slowly walked towards the bedroom, my footsteps echoing in the empty living room. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open gently, and there, sitting on the floor in the middle of the room, was a person. He was sketching in a notepad, looking just as surprised to see me as I was to see him. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. Finally, I managed to stammer out, "Who? Who are you? What are you doing in my apartment?" He looked up, a confused but friendly smile on his face, and said, "Your apartment? I think you mean my apartment. Okay, so picture this. I'm standing there, lease agreement clutched in my sweaty hand, arguing with a complete stranger who was also holding a lease agreement for the same apartment. Turns out we had both been scammed by the same landlord online. This guy, his name was Alex, had moved in just 2 days before me. He'd paid his deposit and first month's rent, just like I had. The scammer had given us both keys and then completely ghosted. We were both victims, standing in what we thought was our new home, now a shared crime scene. We spent the next hour comparing notes, piecing together the scam. The fake listings, the urgent requests for money, the excuses for not meeting in person, it all clicked. We were furious, frustrated, and honestly, a little terrified. We were both out thousands of dollars and, more importantly, homeless. We called the police, and they came and took a report, but they weren't very optimistic. These online rental scams are notoriously hard to track. The officer basically told us it was a civil matter and that we'd have to figure out what to do next. So there we were, Alex and I, two strangers brought together by a con artist, sitting on the floor of an apartment that belonged to neither of us. We had two options. We could either go our separate ways, back to square one of the apartment hunt from hell, or we could try to figure this out together. Looking at the pile of boxes we'd both started to move in, and the sheer exhaustion on each other's faces, we knew we were in the same sinking boat. After a long, awkward silence, Alex finally said, "Well, the rent here is pretty steep for one person anyway. You don't happen to be a decent cook, do you?" And that's how I ended up with a roommate I'd never met. We decided to team up. We contacted the actual building management, explained our bizarre situation, and showed them all our evidence. They were sympathetic, especially after seeing how elaborate the scam was. The apartment was, in fact, still available for rent. The real rent. It was more than either of us could afford alone, but together it was manageable. It was a huge risk. We knew nothing about each other. He could be a slob. I could be a nightmare to live with, but we were desperate. So we took a leap of faith. We signed a new, legitimate lease together. That first night was incredibly weird. We ordered pizza and sat on the floor, surrounded by our half-unpacked boxes, making small talk. "So you're a graphic designer?" I asked. "And you're a writer?" he replied. It felt like a blind date, but one where you've already signed a legally binding contract to live together for a year. The first few weeks were a crash course in cohabitation. We had to navigate everything from who gets which bathroom shelf to whose turn it is to take out the trash. We discovered our differences pretty quickly. Alex is a night owl. I'm an early bird. He leaves his coffee mugs everywhere. I'm obsessively neat. There were definitely moments when I thought, what have I done? I remember one morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. to the sound of loud electronic music coming from the living room. It was Alex in the zone working on a design project. I was so mad, but then he turned around, saw my face, and immediately turned it down, apologizing profusely. He made me a coffee to say sorry. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. It showed we were both willing to try. We started to find our rhythm. We created a chore chart, a classic roommate move. We set up house rules. No loud music after 11 p.m. Clean up your own mess in the kitchen. Simple stuff. But what really changed things were the little moments. One evening, I was struggling to build a bookshelf from IKEA. The instructions looked like ancient hieroglyphics. I was about to give up and throw the whole thing off the balcony when Alex came over, took one look, and had it figured out in 10 minutes. Another time, I was having a really bad day at work, and I came home to find he'd cooked dinner, a surprisingly delicious pasta dish. We started talking, really talking, not just about bills and chores, but about our lives, our dreams, our frustrations. I learned he was saving up to start his own design studio. He learned about the novel I was trying to write. Slowly but surely, this stranger I was forced to live with started to become a friend. We discovered a shared love for old horror movies and spent many Friday nights on the couch, critiquing terrible special effects. We explored our new neighborhood together, finding the best coffee shops and hidden parks. The apartment, which had started as a symbol of a scam and a source of stress, finally started to feel like home. Our home. We decorated it together, arguing playfully over paint colors and poster placements. The balcony became our shared space, where my morning coffee ritual met his late-night sketching sessions. We'd sit out there and watch the city lights, talking for hours. It was a strange, unexpected, but wonderful friendship born from a truly terrible situation. Looking back, moving into this apartment was one of the most stressful experiences of my life, but it also led to one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I found my dream apartment, just not in the way I expected, and I found an incredible friend in the process. Alex and I still live together. The scammer was never caught, and we never got our money back. But what we gained was so much more valuable. It taught me that sometimes the worst situations can have the most surprising, positive outcomes, and that sometimes taking a crazy risk on a stranger can lead you exactly where you need to be. It's a wild story, and if it taught me anything, it's to always verify your landlord in person. And maybe, just maybe, be open to the unexpected roommate. You never know, they might just become your best friend. Thanks for listening to my crazy story. If you've ever had a wild roommate situation, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.